The Warrior's Wound: How Pain Becomes Power. I recently sat down with Jasmine Powell, and if you haven't heard their name yet, you will. Jasmine is doing something rare and revolutionary in this world. They're not just talking about trauma, they're not offering surface level platitudes or quick fixes wrapped in pastel affirmations. No, Jasmine is teaching people how to alchemize their deepest wounds into their greatest weapons. They're showing survivors that the very thing that tried to destroy them can become the foundation of their power. And that's not just inspiring, that's world changing. Today, I want to share what Jasmine taught me, what they're teaching thousands of others, and what I believe you need to hear right now, whether you're ready or not. Because here's the truth Jasmine wants you to sit with, the truth that might make you uncomfortable before it sets you free. Your pain doesn't define you, your response to it does. Let me say that slower for the ones in the back, for the ones scrolling through their phones, trying to outrun their memories, for the ones who've been carrying trauma like a second skeleton they never asked for. Your pain doesn't define you. Your response to it does. When trauma and abuse come for you, and trust me, they don't knock politely, they kick the door down. You have a choice, not an easy one, not a fair one, but a choice nonetheless. You can let that pain write your story, or you can pick up the pen with trembling hands and write it yourself. This isn't about toxic positivity. We're not pretending the wound never happened. We're not slapping a gratitude journal on a gaping hole and calling it healed. This is about something far more honest and far more difficult. This is about refusing to let that wound have the final say. Jasmine said something during our conversation that landed in my chest and hasn't left. Healing is an active choice, not a passive wait. Read that again. Healing is an active choice, not a passive wait. Becoming a warrior doesn't mean you wake up one day and the pain is gone. It means you wake up and choose to do the work anyway. It means seeking therapy even when your pride tells you you're fine. It means setting boundaries even when people call you selfish. It means building your support system even when isolation feels safer. It means taking back control of your narrative one day at a time, one breath at a time, one trembling no at a time. And I know some of you are sitting there thinking, but I've been through too much. I'm too broken. I'm too tired. The damage is too deep. I hear you. But let me tell you about some women who thought the exact same thing. Women who had every statistical reason to stay down, to give up, to let their trauma win, but they didn't. And their stories aren't just inspiring, they're proof. Let's talk about Oprah Winfrey. Born in rural Mississippi in 1954, poverty so deep it had roots, sexual abuse by family members starting at 9 years old. 9. An age when most kids are worried about spelling tests and recess. She was pregnant at 14. 14, her baby died. She ran away from home at 13 because the pain was so unbearable that sleeping on the streets felt safer than sleeping in that house. She battled shame in an era when survivors were told to keep quiet, to stop making a fuss, to protect the family name. She faced systemic racism trying to break into an industry that didn't want her. She faced sexism from men who thought her voice didn't matter. Every single odd was stacked against her. So, what did Oprah do? She could have stayed silent. She could have let that trauma calcify into bitterness. She could have spent her life small and scared and safe, but she didn't. Oprah sought healing through therapy and self reflection. Back when therapy wasn't trendy, back when Black women especially were told to pray it away and move on. She openly shared her story to break the stigma of abuse, knowing full well it could destroy her career before it even started. She used education as her pathway forward, winning a full scholarship to Tennessee State University. She channeled her experiences into empathetic journalism that gave voice to others' pain. She made the conscious, terrifying decision to use her platform to address difficult topics: child abuse, trauma recovery, mental health, things that polite society didn't discuss over dinner. And the outcome? Oprah built a media empire worth billions. She created a safe space for millions of abuse survivors to share their stories through the Oprah Winfrey Show. She established the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for girls in South Africa. She became a voice for trauma survivors worldwide. Her openness about her abuse helped shift cultural conversations about childhood sexual abuse from whispered shame to public reckoning. She became the first Black female news anchor at Nashville's WLAC TV at 19. Her show ran for 25 seasons and reached 40 million viewers weekly at its peak. She founded Harpo Productions, becoming the first Black woman to own a production company. She gave away approximately $400 million to educational causes. She received the Presidential Medal of Freedom. But here's what matters more than the money, more than the accolades, more than the empire. Oprah revolutionized daytime television by bringing previously taboo topics like abuse, molestation, and trauma into mainstream conversation. Her vulnerability created a cultural shift that gave millions of survivors permission to speak. She didn't just heal herself, she created a pathway for others to heal too. That's what warriors do. They don't just survive, they build escape routes for the people still trapped. Now, let me tell you about Tarana Burke, a Black woman from the Bronx who experienced sexual assault as a child and watched countless young Black girls in her community struggle with similar trauma without resources, without support, without anyone who would even listen. In 2006, she founded the Me Too movement specifically to help survivors of sexual violence, particularly young Black women and girls in underprivileged communities who were invisible to everyone else. But here's the part that gutted me when I learned it. Tarana faced her own childhood sexual assault trauma. And one day, as a young camp counselor, a 13-year-old girl named Heaven began to share her own abuse story with Tarana. And Tarana, overwhelmed, couldn't find the words. She couldn't say what Heaven needed to hear. She directed her to another counselor instead. That moment haunted Tarana for years. That moment of not being able to say, "Me too. I understand you're not alone." It became the seed of everything she would build. She worked in under resourced communities where sexual violence was rampant but rarely discussed. She struggled with limited funding and almost no visibility for over a decade. She battled the societal silence and shame surrounding Black women's experiences with sexual violence, the way our pain is dismissed, minimized, ignored. So, what did Tarana do? She created Me Too as a grassroots movement focused on empowerment through empathy, specifically centering the experiences of Black and Brown survivors who had been erased from every other conversation. She developed community based programs that provided healing resources and support networks. She pursued her own therapy and healing work, understanding that you can't pour from an empty cup, that you can't save anyone if you're drowning yourself. She built a career as a civil rights activist and remained committed to the work even when nobody was paying attention, even when the world wasn't ready to listen. And then in 2017, when Me Too went viral, when it became a hashtag that exploded across social media, Tarana's decade of groundwork ensured the movement had substance and direction beyond a trending topic. She had already built the infrastructure. She had already done the work. She authored the book Unbound, My Story of Liberation and the Birth of the Me Too Movement. She became one of Time Magazine's 2017 Persons of the Year. She received numerous humanitarian awards. But most importantly, she created sustainable healing pathways for survivors that continued through the Me Too movement organization, pathways that will outlive the hashtag, that will outlive the moment. Tarana's work shifted global conversations about sexual violence, centering the experiences of marginalized survivors who had been previously ignored, dismissed, told their pain didn't matter. The movement has influenced workplace policies worldwide, encouraged millions of survivors to speak out, led to legislative changes in multiple countries. But here's what really matters: she created accessible healing resources for survivors who previously had nowhere to turn, no one to call, no place to go. That's warrior work. That's what it looks like when you transform your trauma into someone else's roadmap, when you turn your deepest wound into someone else's way out. And then there's Iyanla Van Zant, born Rhonda Eva Harris in Brooklyn in 1953, survived childhood sexual abuse by multiple relatives, including her uncle, endured domestic violence in two marriages, suffered through multiple periods of homelessness while raising three children, became a single mother on welfare by age 21, dropped out of high school, relied on public assistance, battled feelings of worthlessness and shame so deep she couldn't see a way out. At her lowest point, Iyanla was homeless, sleeping in her car with her children. Let that sink in. Sleeping in a car with her babies, wondering if tomorrow would be the day she finally broke for good. But here's what Iyanla did instead of breaking. She committed to her own healing journey through therapy and spiritual practices. She educated herself, earning a law degree from Queens College and a master's degree from the University of Santa Monica. Because education was her weapon and she was going to use it, she studied Yoruba spiritual traditions and became an ordained minister. She wrote honestly about her struggles in best selling books like Yesterday I Cried and Peace from Broken Pieces, Holding Nothing Back, Hiding Nothing. She dedicated her life to helping others heal from trauma through coaching, speaking, and her television work. The outcome? Iyanla became a New York Times best-selling author multiple times. She appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show over 20 times. She founded Intervisions Institute for Spiritual Development. She hosted her own successful TV show, Iyanla Fix My Life, for 7 seasons, helping families heal from trauma and abuse. She published 16 books. She launched and sustained a successful spiritual coaching practice for over 3 decades. She received multiple NACP Image Awards. She trained thousands of life coaches through her institute. But here's what really matters about Iyanla's story. Her work has particularly resonated within the Black community, where mental health resources and discussions about trauma were historically scarce, where we were taught to suffer in silence and call it strength. She normalized therapy and healing work in Black households. She provided a model for how to transform pain into purpose. She created accessible, spiritual, and emotional healing resources through her books and programs. She used her platform to address systemic issues affecting Black families, generational trauma, abuse, poverty, the things we don't talk about at Sunday dinner. And here's the part that gets me every time: Iyanla's willingness to share her own continued healing journey, including publicly working through her 11-year estrangement from Oprah, showed the world something crucial. Becoming a warrior doesn't mean you're finished healing. It doesn't mean you've arrived. It means you keep fighting. It means you keep showing up. It means you keep doing the work, even when it's messy and public and painful. These three women, Oprah, Tarana, Iyanla, they didn't wait for permission to heal. They didn't wait for their abusers to apologize. They didn't wait for the world to be ready for their stories. They made the active choice to heal. They did the hard work. They sought therapy. They set boundaries. They built their support systems. They took back control of their narratives, one day at a time, one decision at a time, one brave moment at a time. And that's what Jasmine Powell is teaching. That's the message they're spreading in the world, the message that's changing lives, the message you need to hear today. Your survival can become someone else's roadmap. When you transform your trauma into triumph, You don't just heal yourself, you light the way for others walking through their own darkness. Your warrior spirit becomes a beacon of hope for someone who can't see the shore yet. So here's what needs to happen next. Here's what Jasmine wants you to do differently after hearing this. Look at your pain differently. Stop letting it sit in the dark corners of your heart, making decisions for you, whispering lies about your worth, convincing you that you're too broken to be whole again. Find one person, a therapist, a counselor, a support group, a trusted friend, and speak your truth out loud. Just start. You don't have to heal all at once. You don't have to have it all figured out, but you have to start somewhere. You have to take the first step. And for those of you who've already started your healing journey, who've already done some of the work, Jasmine wants you to reach back, help someone else who's still in the dark. That's what warriors do. We lift as we climb. Your story could be someone's survival guide, your wound could be someone's roadmap home. Because here's the truth: your pain doesn't define you, your response to it does. Healing is an active choice, not a passive wait. And your survival can become someone else's roadmap. You are not too broken. You are not too tired. You are not too far gone. You are not beyond repair. You are a warrior in the making. And your story isn't over yet. The pen is in your hand. The page is blank. The wound is real, but so is your power. What are you going to write next?